Hi there, Brian here, and welcome to today's video where I'll be exploring the Margarita, a classic tequila cocktail all the way from Mexico. This used to be one of my favourites. I would say it used to be my favourite until I became interested in cocktails and found all these other tasty cocktails that I do like, but this is the OG classic cocktail that I used to say was my favourite. It's still a beloved cocktail of mine. So, in this video we are going to be having a look at the history, which is very cloudy. I already know this, and then we're going to be trying a few. We're going to do the classic, we're going to have a look at the Tommies, and the Cadillac, which is kind of like a mashup of the two previous ones, elevated slightly. And then we're going to be trying them, and I'll tell you which one I prefer the most. Now, the classic and the Tommies I've had many times. Cadillac I've had before, but not with a quality, well, it was a poo Reposado. It weren't like 100% agave and all that, so this one does have, so hopefully this will be better. Plus, I don't know if I had Gran Marnier in it, they used Cointreau. It wasn't a good Cadillac margarita, to say. So hopefully this one will be better. And even my one before was not a very good Cadillac margarita when I tried to make one, because like I say, I had a poor quality, it was Dead Man's Thing, a Reposado, which isn't 100% agave and all that, so, you know. Anyway, back to the video. So, like I say, we're going to now have a look at the history, then we're going to make some cocktails, and then we're going to try them, and I'll tell you which one out of the three I prefer the most. Maybe the Tommies at the moment. Cadillac, though, is the wild card in this one. So let's get on with the video. Okay, so let's get into the history of the margarita. So the earliest accounts I could find is that in 1936 someone called Danny Negrete decided that he had created it as a wedding gift for someone, which was a triple sec lime tequila, so maybe a different balance, but still a margarita. So that was the first one. Then we move on a bit. Okay, then moving on to the next one is that the next person is someone called Carlos Danny Herrera. I was supposed to say Herrera. Okay, so the next account of the claiming to have created this would be someone called Carlos or Danny Herrera, and he was a restaurant owner who created it for someone, I suppose they're famous, Marjorie King. I don't know this person, but you know, I guess she was famous in her time, or at this time. So he created it for her in 1938, his claim was. Then we move on to the next claim. Okay, so the next one is one I've heard quite a bit, and this one is a guy called Francisco Poncho Morales, and he created it at his bar for a patron who asked for a magnolia, and he tweaked it and came up with this one, the margarita. And that was I think Tommy's place in Juarez, Mexico. See, that one I've heard a few times, and that was in 1942. So we're moving on a bit now. So let's get to one of the final ones that I could find that were actual claims that they invented this cocktail. And the final one is a bit funny because it comes all the way later in 1948, where someone called Margaret Samez claimed to, a socialite claimed to have invented it. So this one is like the least likely of any of these claims. That's like me claiming I made it now. So, you know, like, so that was just a funny one I thought I'd include at the end, because I don't even know why that you would include that in lists of claims when that one is just highly debatable. But what I will say is, one of the most convincing stories I heard, I think it was told by Steve the Bartender, a YouTube cocktail guy I watched, and I think he told it this way, is that years ago, sometime down in the 1930s, travelling salesmen would go from Mexico to travel between America and Mexico, and the Daisy was a very popular cocktail at this time. Daisy is literally liqueur, Cointreau, lemon or lime juice, and a base spirit. So you can see that this really does fit the story, and that Margarita in Spanish is Daisy. So Americans would come down, order a Daisy, which could be done with any base spirit. Being you're in Mexico, they're going to go for tequila, obviously. It's the spirit of the country. And they would put lime juice with it, so they would make it this way. Then the Americans would go back and say they were given something called a margarita down there, and they did it like this. So it kind of became, it went from being just a daisy to a specific kind of daisy, a margarita. And that one for me sounds the best story out of all of them, because it's something that kind of is naturally evolving and makes perfect sense. So that is the history of the cocktail and the people who have claimed to have invented it, and the little story that says it kind of just evolved from an actual cocktail that was already out, and just kind of like a language difference, you know. So that was the history. So with that being said, let's start getting into making some cocktails. So now we're going to make the classic cocktail, then we'll make the Tommies, then we'll make the Cadillac, which I am looking forward to trying. So let's get into this. Okay, so let's make a classic margarita. So first thing you're going to need is a margarita glass. We've got one here with some ice chilling. Then you're going to want your shaker, so we're going to start adding our ingredients. So for this we're doing the version I was taught when I went up to London. So that is 2 parts of our Blanco tequila, and then 1 part fresh squeezed lime juice, lovely, 1 part fresh lime juice, and then finally half a part, sorry, of Cointreau. So you've got a 2-1/2 split there. Now we're going to start adding ice, but before that we do want to get rid of this, and we're going to just make sure the rim is dry for when I put some. Now we're going to want to salt the rim of this. I'm only going to go about halfway. There we go, got a nice salt crust there. Oh, take that out. Right, so now we're going to add ice to the shaker. On a bit of paper, right. Right. Now let's shake. Whoops. Right, so that's shaken, and now we're going to want to double strain just to catch the ice crystals. There we have it, a margarita, and then we just finally finish with a bit of a lime wedge on the side. And there we have it, a classic margarita. Okay, so there we go, classic margarita. Slight little slip with the thing, but it landed conveniently in my box thing I have just here. But anyway, back to the drink. Very nice. You got your sugar, salt rim this side, a little bit of lime just in case you want the extra squeeze of lime. Some people do. But there we have it. So this is the way I was taught to do it when I went up to London and was trained. So slightly different from my original. Originally I did the 2-1-1, which after being trained I thought was wrong, but it's not wrong, it's just there's lots of different variations in the classic margarita in the way they put their Cointreau lime juice in it. I actually once did a reverse to this and put 30ml Cointreau 15 lime juice, and that was really nice as well, a sweeter version of the margarita. So anyway, let's get on with it. We won't put that in because we've already balanced the cocktail, so let's just get straight into trying it. Now you see, I do prefer this over the 2-1-1, but whether it be this one or the flip, I'm not 100% sure on which I prefer out of the two, to be honest. Depends on what day. Sometimes I prefer it a little sweeter, so I would do the flip side of this with the 30ml Cointreau, 15ml lime juice. But all in all, this is the one I go to most of the time because I am more of a sour. I do prefer the more sour cocktails. Yum. Right, so that is the classic margarita. Now let's move on to a Tommy's margarita. Okay, so let's make a Tommy's margarita. So for that you're going to need glassware. For that we have a margarita glass with some ice chilling. Now we're going to need our tools, and for that we're going to want a shaker because this is a shaken cocktail. So let's start adding our ingredients, and for that first we're going to want some Blanco tequila. Where is my jigger? There we go, just grab my jigger. And for that you're going to be wanting 60ml of this, so 60ml of Blanco tequila. There we go. And then we're going to be wanting 15ml of our agave syrup. So for that we're going to go for this jigger, 15ml. So 15ml of agave syrup. Now we're going to go on in 30ml of our fresh squeezed lime juice. There we go. So that side, now we're going to be wanting to get rid of the ice, and we're going to be wanting to put a little bit of juice around the edge, about half the glass, and now we're going to just get the salt. We're going to salt the rim. There we go, nice salty rim there. Now we're going to want to add ice to our shaker, so right, so that's ice added. Now we're going to want to shake. So that's shaken, and now we are just going to double strain into our glass, just to avoid any ice crystals. And there they all are. And finally we'll just garnish with a little squeeze of a little lime wedge on that side. And there we have it, a Tommy's margarita. Okay, so it looks nice, but how does it taste? so we'll get rid of that. Actually, I do like a limey, so we'll squeeze that in. And now we'll give it a taste. First on the non-salted side. Really good. I really do like a Tommy's Margarita. I'm not sure whether I prefer it over a regular. I think with a Tommy's Margarita, I prefer it without the salt. But with a regular margarita, a classic, I prefer the salt rim. So, but let's try it with the salt bit now. Yeah, it's nice, but I just prefer my Tommy's the non-salted side. Salted side looks nice for the presentation, but yeah. So, that is the Tommy's Margarita. Now we'll move on to our final one of the video. Okay, so let's make a Cadillac Margarita now. So for that, you're going to want glassware. So we have the Margarita glass with some ice in there chilling. Now we're going to want to build it. So you're going to want a shaker. So we've got the shaker, and now we're going to start adding our ingredients. And for this, you're going to want 60 ml of your Reposado tequila. 60 ml of that. And then you're going to want 15 ml of Gran Marnier, not Cointreau. And then 15 ml of your agave syrup, or sugar syrup. And then finally 30 ml of fresh squeezed lime juice. Of fresh squeezed lime juice. Now we're going to want to add our ice. Now we're going to put that aside a sec while I just quickly get rid of that. And then we're going to take a bit of lime and just go around the edge. And then we're going to grab our salt here. And we're just going to salt the rim. There we go. A salted rim. Now we're going to shake the cocktail. Over and double strain, catching the ice crystals. And finally finish with and there we have it, a Cadillac Margarita. Okay, so there we have it, a Cadillac Margarita. So, very much like your Tommy's and your classic just thrown into one. So, it's always going to be a winner, but how much of a winner is it? Because to be honest, I've only ever tried this recently, because beforehand, well no, I tried it a long time ago, but with some Dead Man's Finger Reposado, so it weren't so great. But recently I got this Altos, Olmeca, Reposado, 100% agave, nicer. Oh, That is nice. So I've had it without the salt rim, it's just here. Very tasty. Kinda, you get everything from the regular tequila, just a bit more bolder flavour. I suppose that comes from your Reposado and the Gran Marnier. So let's try it with the salt rim. Ooh. Even better. So with this one, you've got those bold flavours, but it is quite sweet considering you've got the syrup and the Gran Marnier orange liqueur. So kind of brings it back to that 2-1-1 that I talked about, which I used to do, but when you get it on that salty side, lovely. Brilliant. Right, so that is the end of this video. That was the Margarita and a few of its variants, going from, like I say, the original, which is a classic, and the Tommy's, which is quite a favourite amongst bars. So we kind of like, you don't see that often, but if you can get one, try that. That is definitely, it is the best of the three, yeah. So anyway, with that being said, this is the end of the video. So thanks for watching, hopefully you enjoyed that, hopefully I'll see you next time. Take care and goodbye.